Hello, 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 everybody. I'm your host, Abhinav Jindal, and welcome to the fourth episode of It's Wednesday, That's Why, a series that I started to inspire other fellow entrepreneurs from stories of other fellow entrepreneurs. Each week, I bring on a founder and I ask them why they do what they do, what drives them, and we seek inspiration in their story, in their life journey, in their business journey. Today, we have a very interesting guest with us. This person has a business experience since the age of 13. He started his own business at the age of 19, and right now he's a strategic technology consultant and a digital Sherpa. He's also an author of the #1 best-selling book on Amazon called Winning Online. Apart from that, this person likes to travel, meet new people, and I'm sure from my own experience, like he's a very interesting person to talk to. So please welcome Joel Mandelbaum. Hi, Joel. How are you today?
Fantastic, Abhinav. Thank you for
Uh,
having me on today.
well, thanks for coming on. It's always interesting to, have this conversation with entrepreneurs and understand why it is what they do. But I would like to begin with my first question, which is, and can you tell the audience, what do you do?
Great question. How much time do we have? No. So to give it a high level, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and currently I'm in the digital space, online marketing, disruptive technologies, lead gen, some really good, cool stuff. And I've been doing this now for about 10 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We
We've talked, and the work you do is amazing. The way you've showed me some of your work, and I was just like blown away by it. I was like, wow, I never thought that you could do, you had so many different tactics just under the digital space and as an advertiser. Advertising is the th thing that I'm most on up to date with, and that hits me. But what you do is amazing. And Joel, what made you start this business? Why do you do what you do currently?
you ask any entrepreneur that, you're obviously going to get a million different answers from each person. But just to kind of maybe give you a high level of my story, um, when I was younger, back in school, I hated school. It just wasn't for me. I hated sitting in classrooms. I always wanted to be outside, out
Well,
doing
that
stuff.
makes the two of us.
Yes. And when I was 19, back in 1988, we had a grade 13 here in Toronto. So 19 going into grade 13, realizing I don't want to go to university. But that was kind of in the cards. So after I graduated and I asked my parents, I said, "Yo, okay, you're paying for my university next year, I guess." And they paused and they were like, "No." So for half a second, I was like, "Seriously? I'm getting mad. You said you pay." Then I went, "Wait a minute. Okay, then I won't go to school." Plain and simple. I'm not going to pay for it. Why should I? I don't even want to be there. It's like
Yeah.
going to a restaurant, you don't like the food. Why go there in the first place? And I never had ambitions to be a doctor, lawyer, like my parents had for me. So at the age of 19 in 1988, I graduated from high school in July of 88, went to York University for a couple of credits and realized it's not for me. I went there for my parents, went there because university after. I just couldn't make it work, and I felt I was wasting my money. So decided to start a delivery business, bought a car, and I was all about freedom at the time. I remember when I got my first bicycle, it was like, wow, I can finally go further and go faster. And then getting a car, it was about time. So got a car, and I decided my dad got pissed off. He was like, "That's not an investment." I said, "Yeah, but if I'm using it to make money, it is an investment." So I started driving as a delivery driver and worked for a company for about 6 months. And then back in July of 88, I started my first company that was called Split Second Courier. And what we did was same day rush stuff around Toronto. And over 24 years, I built that company into a fair sized organization where we had an office in Toronto, an office in Western New York. We did a lot of heavy freight stuff out of New York, and we did more same day rush stuff in Toronto. But nonetheless, built it up. At one point, I had close to 60, 70 staff, including drivers. And one day in 2012, I get a phone call from a competitor asking if I want to sell the business. I thought, you know what? It's getting tough at the time. It was really getting tough to get new clients. I couldn't understand why smaller delivery companies were growing faster than me. And I was just grinding it out the only way I knew: cold calling, door to door referrals, cold calling, door to door referrals, the old way of doing business. Never really thought much about digital marketing. My whole marketing initiative in that company was I had some SEO guy call me and say, hey, we'll get you on page 1 of Google. You're going to be crushing it. You're going to have so many leads and customers. So I said, okay, here's $100. What can you do with that? You know, looking back today, it's hilarious. Poor guy. What's he going to do with $100? But he took the $100. So he took the $100, probably got clicked out by my competition, and that was that. And I said, nah, the internet doesn't work. Just keep doing what I'm doing. That was one of my fatal mistakes in business. Not that it caused hardship in my business, but what it could have done is really kind of went, oh my goodness. So I accepted the offer. And when I met with the owner, we became good friends. And so about 6-7 months into it, and in that business, you bring over your clients, you get a percentage for a year, a high percentage, and that's it. I got paid 3 times industry. And I started hearing, you know, their customer service reps going, oh, is this your first delivery? Is this your first? Welcome to us. Welcome, blah, blah, blah. And I said to the owner, I said, that's kind of crazy. What kind of salespeople do you have that get the customer to call in the first order? I would have my salespeople call the customer every day until they place the first order and use our online service. And he said to me, I don't have any salespeople. My chin probably would have dropped through the floor if there wasn't a floor, because I couldn't understand. I'd be getting all these customers with no salespeople, and I'm hearing multiple calls per day. Oh, we do online marketing. And I paused for a moment. I went, okay, how come I have a sense of an ominous feeling coming over me? And he's like, Joel, let me tell you what we do. You don't do any, right? Yep. So he went to tell me, and I realized, you know, they say I could have had a V8. They go like this. I say I could have had a V80, because really people had told me up to that point, you better get online, you better do stuff if you want. You know what? I started at 19, so I didn't have any university business experience, but I did learn from the greats, audio programs. You know, if you're a new business startup, get a university education on wheels. You know, get audio programs that will teach you while you're driving around, self-teaching. You know, and that's what I did, which allowed me to build an organization that we were in the low 7 figures per year. And so after I sold it and realized this, I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I miss out on? I need to learn this stuff. So with a blank canvas, took my ego, threw it away, said, I need to learn. And if I have to learn from the smartest people on the planet, that's what I'm going to do. So I started hanging out with people that had built some very disruptive technologies that are still around today. And it was actually one of the reasons why I got into the online space, is because I just loved what these people created, and I loved what it could do for a client. And also, while I was transitioning from the transportation to the digital space, I'm at networking events. And I'm talking about courier freight transportation, and look up, nobody's there anymore. No one cares. So come on, it's like talking about gold, really, bar of gold. Well, worth a lot less than a bar of gold. But then when I started talking about online and had started to assimilate a lot of the knowledge that these people had, I became smart, you could say. You hang out with the top surgeon in the world for 9 years and you don't go to medical school, I bet you're probably going to be better off. You're going to be better than someone that just got out of medical school. So I started talking and people started listening. And I became, I guess, highly educated more than most because of the people I hung out with. So I started hearing people saying, hey, Joel, you should write a book. And I was like, I don't think so. Me write a book? No way. I have problems crafting an email. Now I want to you want me to write a book. Anyway, I heard it from enough people. So I decided, okay, I'll write a book because, as I'm sure you know, there are a lot of bad actors in our space. And you know, hearing those stories literally can tear your heart out. Like,
Yeah.
why do these people do this?
Yes.
So I heard a story, not going to go into it, but it really pissed me off. And I said, okay, that's it. I'm writing a book to make sure that business owners understand at least basically what they need to do to win online and also run their business. Wrote the book, did it as a passion project. Had a friend of mine who just taken a course on how to self-publish. A lot of these book agencies, they want you to buy 10,000 copies. I'm sorry, I don't see buying 10,000 copies of my book making me a bestseller that way is ethical,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we decided to go on the Amazon platform, launch the book, sent out a bunch of emails, and we hit #1 in 6 categories, and we knocked Michelle Obama off the #2 spot of the top paid Kindle books for a while. And so I realized I must have hit a nerve with other business owners because we're good at what we do. We're not necessarily good at marketing. And why
Mm-hmm.
would we be? Because we've got our thing. So why are we spending all this time, money, energy, and effort wasted trying to do it ourselves when there's professionals like you, there's professionals like me out there that really understand on a macro level what needs to be done. So did well with that, came out with a course, did well with the course. And here I am today, have created a system to help companies through their online journey from start to finish, which includes disruptive technologies not available anywhere else, like you've seen, that give
Mm-hmm.
my clients a huge edge over their competition.
That
And that's my story.
That is such an inspiring story. And, going back to why you became a business owner in the first place is just because you literally wanted your freedom and you didn't want to be stuck in a university. Like, so many people do because people think that university is, the next logical step after doing a school. But does it need to be? Not necessarily. But today, when I think a lot of founders, we start our business due to a reason, like maybe freedom is one of the biggest one for founders that I've come across. And then people want money, people want freedom, people want to own their lives. But as you go more into the business, and I'm sure you've got like a couple of decades of business experience, why do digital? Like I know you love that information, but why do you do it today? Like today you can you are so skilled, you can go, you can start any other business, you can like, you have the experience, you have the skill set, you can literally do anything that you want to do. So why today? What drives you every day, and why do you do today whatever you do?
That's an awesome question. So I could say what my passion is today to help entrepreneurs cross that finish line. Now, what is the finish line? It's different with every entrepreneur. I mean, everyone says, yeah, let's go online. I want sales. But really, that's what everybody wants. But to get to that point, there's a lot of execution that needs to be
Yes.
done before that most business owners don't understand. Unless you've done your marketing and understand the words and to communicate with your target clients, and you've tested and now you have a system or a way of doing that and you understand, that's fine. That's great. It's going to be easy. But if not, you're going to need someone to help you through that journey to help you understand that. So I think what really charges me, Al, is helping other entrepreneurs get to a different level of where they are now, whether that be, a sale online finally, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's lead generation, whether that's visibility. Some
Yeah.
companies, they just want visibility. They just want to show up everywhere, but they may not be the type of company where you go on their website, you just buy something. Brand awareness is huge these days, building your community and your tribe. So to me, I'll give you a great example. I have a client, he does sales systems in companies. He goes in, sets up sales systems, the proper way of doing it. And so one of our platforms we developed is to help B2B clients get leads on LinkedIn, that
Mm-hmm.
eliminating the time for prospecting. So this guy's was a client for 3 months. He calls me up one day. He says, Joel, I'm going to have to cancel your service. And I hear like this sadness in his voice. And I'm thinking, oh, because I'm not used to that happening. And okay, can you tell me why? He said, well, it's not for a bad reason. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm losing a client. That's bad. Usually. He said, Joel, I've got so much business. I'm booked for the next 3 to 6 months. I can't take on a single client because of what you've created. So it was, of course, my first reaction was, that is awesome. He's excited. He's crossed the finish line.
Yes.
We've created a faucet almost for him to turn on and off, which is really the utopia that all business owners want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we were able to do that. So it was bittersweet. I mean, it was sweet because I got my goal, which is helping him cross his finish line, but at an expense to my revenue, which is okay. Because if he doesn't need me, then he's doing okay.
Yes.
So I said to him, like a business owner would say, so does that mean that you're now the bottleneck of scaling your business if you're just the one person show? And he said to me, Joel, I knew you were going to ask that question. I'm a new entrepreneur. I want to enjoy some of my fruits of my labor first.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to reach out to you in another 3-4 months because we're going to hire, because my system also does that. And then we're going to scale. How about that? I said, how about, sounds good. So
Yeah.
that's just one example, of being able to help the client cross that finish line in their journey, or we build them a beautiful website that they had issues before, and finally it's getting done right. So it's just the passion of helping other business owners and taking them through that journey and helping them not having to go through the steps and mistakes that most business owners make.
Yes.
And if I can help them avoid that, save them 6 months of time or a lot of money, that I'll do. So I do it because I just love helping and love meeting people.
That's amazing, like I think I started my business for the same reason, because I found a loophole. I found a void in the marketing industry, and I had some undesirable experiences with agencies, and I'm like, no, this needs to be better, and like I want to do it. And like once I learned and applied the knowledge to my business, I was like, I want to share that with my with other businesses so they can help that with that they can help grow as well with this information. I always like to, go a little deeper and, scratch the skin, and because I think the exactly. I like to do that because I think the answers within us are so, like, the reasons are so strong. And I want to ask you, why do you love helping people?
Wow, that's a great question.
Yeah, I know.
That's an awesome quote. Why do I love helping people? I think, one thing I have to state is that I'm responsible to my clients, but I'm not responsible for my clients. So what I mean by that is, when I first started in this industry, if my clients didn't succeed, I took it very personally.
Hmm.
And in some cases, it has nothing to do with me. It's
Yes.
execution.
I
If
learned
I
that
could
the
bring,
hard way.
I'm sorry.
I learned that the hard way.
Right. So, I mean, if I'm bringing a bunch of really good qualified leads to a client, but they can't response handle or close, oh my goodness, it's like I get depressed because
Mhm.
I see the opportunity and then the client you know, just not doing it. So, really, I at the beginning, this was not a great business for me at the beginning because, my level of success and where my clients were not reaching what I would consider my level of success. So I would take everything personal, and I hated it. And I said, you know what? I'm not staying in this industry until a guru of the industry I met. And he said, Joel, everything you're providing your client is far in excess of what most agencies and people do. You
Mhm.
can never be responsible for what your client's results are. You can give them the best advice, you can give them the best tools, but if they're not part of that process, whether they can't close, response handle, or know how to even talk to the client, how can you be responsible for that? So let's have some other KPIs that we come to the client at the beginning. I cannot ever guarantee any client is going to get a new customer. I cannot guarantee that, but I'll give them the best chance, all things being equal, and then they know their business. So the passion to help business owners and why I like helping them is because I like seeing somebody go from, to excitable. Because I also understand the journey that most entrepreneurs go through. And I don't care what you say, it's not an easy journey, especially for people that maybe had an employee mindset and the pandemic made them realize that they want more than just, not saying working for someone's not Look, I've never worked for anyone. I'd be a
Mhm.
bad employee, I'm sure. But people want more, and to go through the process can be tough at times. And if I can help them, then it just gives me satisfaction knowing. And maybe what it does is it's a validation that what I'm doing is the right thing.
That's
You know,
amazing.
I'm
Yes.
I'm very emotionally tied into a lot of my clients. So, and I'm a people person. So I
Yeah.
really like to see them win as we move together if they bring me on for that. So that's why I love seeing people, I love making people feel good too. I mean, it's just may
There you
not be
go.
all the
There you go.
time,
Exactly.
but
It's so funny how our human psychology works because when I start, and I'm a very curious person, so I study human psychology a lot. Like I'll just observe people and I'll just like, okay, well, how does our brain work? Why do we do certain things, and where does it originate from? And it's funny because at the end of the day, we all do something for very basic reasons. And understanding your story, is it fair to say, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but is it fair to say that you had some experiences in your journey that you don't want any other people suffering, and because of that, you work twice or maybe 10 times or maybe 100 times hard to make sure that they don't go through what you went through?
are you psychic? Okay, since we're now at that level, I had a business failure. Now this is now my sixth rodeo, but I had a business failure and it affected me very deeply, a lot more emotionally than it should have, because I had identified myself with that business. So that business failing, I identified as I was a failure,
Mhm.
and it was a tough time. And if I had guidance, well, yeah, if I had guidance, things may have been different. Now, I'm not regretting it now because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for that
Yes.
business failure.
And
And
I'm
you know
so
what?
glad that you see that, because so many of us fail to see that. They're stuck in what went wrong and they can't get out of that story, because of which they stop their growth from going further and actually taking the learnings from what went wrong and applying that to creating something wonderful.
Absolutely. In fact, you hit it on the head because it actually wasn't a business failure. That's just that's just my back mind saying it was a learning experience. It was a really big learning experience. And fool me once, shame on you, and fool me twice, shame on me. I won't make those mistakes again. And if I have I have about 6, 7 coaching clients, and I'll make sure they don't make those mistakes. And some of them, it's just like, no, you can't do that. Well, why? Because I've done it and you're going to fail,
Yeah.
and I'm very firm about that. Kind of see myself as like Papa Bear to
Hmm.
my clients because, although I may not financially get a benefit from them closing a deal other than them being a client, that's not my goal. Is to help them build their business and for them to really, really, really understand you got to take this way. Look, if you're going to be a doctor, you need to be taught. If you're going to do online marketing and you've never done it before, what makes you think just because you hear something that it's true? Oh, so and so's, yeah, they're crushing it online, doing 10 million a month in sales, blah, blah, blah. Well, let me ask, what had to happen for them to get to that point? What was their ups and downs? So we all go through that, and understanding that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to screw up, just don't repeat it. And you're going to make the mistakes, and you're going to look back and go, oh, I knew it. But don't beat yourself up for that because we're doing the best we can.
Yes, 100%. I think everybody is doing the best we can in that situation, and we don't know what we don't know. So I think everybody is putting in their best in each second of their life, and they're just trying to make the best out of the situation. And sometimes shit happens, but I think it's okay to let shit happen and learn from that and move on and really understand that it's happening for us and not to us.
Right.
Um, that's amazing though. What is
Did I
one?
answer your question? Did because I went off a bit. Just want to make sure I answered your
I
question.
think so, but why don't the audience decide that? So, guys,
Okay,
feel free to comment and say if Joel answered the question or not. But I think you answered. I can go deeper, but I just I don't want to because then we'll be having a whole lot of conversation for this entire evening. And as much as I would love to do, I just want to be a little considerate of the viewers' times up here as well. Um,
absolutely, absolutely.
what is a growth tip you would want to give any entrepreneur who's starting off, or any entrepreneur who are about to scale their business and are ready to take it to the next level? What is a growth tip for them?
Great question again. So growth is, here's the thing about business. First of all, you have to decide from the very start if your product or service is in demand. Statistically, I think it's like 30% of all businesses that start up fail because there's no market for their product, or there's nothing special.
Hmm.
Look, I got into a business in the courier freight logistics business. It's considered a commodity. Oh, you're doing a delivery for $10, someone else will do it for 9 or 8.
Yes.
So how do you differentiate yourself? I mean, firstly, if you're getting ready to scale, that's a different story. But if you're starting out as a newer entrepreneur, identify where your audience is, where they hang out.
Yeah.
The analogy I like to use is, and I'm Jewish, you want to marry someone Jewish, don't go to a church.
Hmm.
But what do most business owners do metaphorically? They go to church to meet someone who they think might introduce them to somebody that's Jewish, or as a referral, as we're known. I say no. It's nice to have referral partners, and you should build a good network of referral partners in exchange. However, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, but if you don't know where your target clients are, it's going to be a waste. You need to know where they are, understand what they're going through, what is their pain point, show them you can solve that issue through your site, through your social, through whatever you're doing, in order to have them see you as the subject matter expert. If you figure it out, what works, put all your budget behind it and keep doing it, but keep measuring, managing everything you're doing, all your initiatives, what you're spending, what your return is. Very important to keep on top of that. I'm sure, we both heard of stories where people just went on a platform, spent a lot of money, and really got nothing for it.
Hmm.
And that usually happens to people that are inexperienced, that don't understand the whole journey. So, so in terms of what advice could I give a business owner that's ready to scale? Systematize, delegate, and eliminate everything you can. Try to, it's good to hire people, but can it be sourced out to someone that does that service or whatever that is, that really, really resonates in that. And also niche if you can. If
That's
you
amazing.
can niche if you can. So
I would
there's
like
some
to
tips.
pick up from what you said earlier, because it's so important because people have so many good ideas and there's like, okay, I just got my $1 million idea, or I just got my $1 billion idea. And they're like, okay, I like this idea so much. This has to be a great product. And first, guys, it's like, if you like like the idea, it's not guaranteed that the other people will like this idea as well. I'll just share a story here. A couple of years ago, I had this friend of our family friend come to me, and they wanted to start a new resort, and they wanted my guidance because I have a resort experience. And they're like, hey, we want to do a wedding there, and we want to make it a wedding destination, and have like 60 rooms and 70 rooms, and like they had all these ideas, and they started discussing architecture with me. And I'm like, hold on, as a salesperson, because when a business idea comes to me, as a salesperson, my brain starts going is this business sellable? I'm not thinking on how to add quality at the first place. I'm like, I'll add the quality, but first I may need to have a product or service that is actually sellable to the audience. So I'm like, hey, before figuring out how many stories you want to put up in that resort, maybe you want to figure out what kind of demand is in the area where you plan to start a resort. And I think it's very important to have, as you said, the product market fit, because you can have an amazing product with no one to want for it. Sometimes you just make a little tweaks and you find your right audience. So it is very important when someone starts starting out their business that they have an understanding. You can be 100% sure. One of the ways I have learned or read is, instead of spending like tens of Ks on marketing and then coming up with a product and then trying to sell that product, you just come up with a landing page, market it, spend a couple thousand on it, market it, and see if you're actually getting any leads or queries for that product or service. Based on that, you will not get an accurate understanding, but you have a rough understanding of, whether that product is going to be liked by people in the market, or what the demand ratio is. Would you have any tip on how people can figure out how better about their product market fit?
Yeah, I think that, doing surveys really important, and not your family. I
No,
mean,
no,
because
definitely not.
or your best friends, like you
You
want to
always love the
include them,
product.
yes, but either, they might give you a lot. Yeah, I really can't tell them his product stinks. So I'll say, oh, it's okay.
Yes,
Meanwhile, they're being polite and they're not doing you a service at
yes,
all. So
100%.
if it's a new type of product or service, then first of all, you got to identify your audience. That's the number one. And once you've identified your audience, so to your point, that doesn't just make just an analogy came to me. I mean, it'd be nice to have, what if we had a tonic that you could pour on somebody's grave and they're all of a sudden alive again? But it would only work with people that are 7 feet and taller. Amazing product, but not a lot of people can buy the product, even though it's an amazing product. So although you might think that your product is the most amazing thing in the world, and it might be, how big is the market? So find out where your target clients are, and then send out questions. People like answering questions. If you're a B2B, go on LinkedIn, do a poll.
Mhm.
Ask, give people, allow people to test it, test
Yes.
market, and give them a reason, because they're taking their time. They're going to take time out of their day, time they're never getting back, to check out your product or service and to spend time to tell you. That's called a focus group, and companies pay a lot of money to get that kind of information. So by asking people, always be thankful, be grateful, and take all the advice you can, because one person says something doesn't mean that you now have to switch.
Yeah.
But if you see a general view of certain things about your product or service that are positive or negative, you may want to use the crowd consensus to make changes to what you're doing. So I would say finding where they are first, sending out questions, and more and more and more until you know that what you have has a market for it. And that could be just doing enough research that you're doing something that's already there, or if it's something completely new, you're going to have to spend the extra time understanding who your target client is, and it may not be evident from the start. So that's what I would do.
Well, that's great tip. Well, it was a very interesting chat today for sure, Joel. Thank you so much for being here. It's an absolute pleasure to have this conversation, and have a limitless day. Thank you all the viewers for watching this video. I highly appreciate, and I would really appreciate if you can share your comments and thoughts. If you want any more questions for me to ask from these founders, I would love to know that as well. If you want to be featured on this podcast, leave a comment below and we will get back to you. And I'll see you next Wednesday.